Hello, namaste, welcome, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Thank you for being here. I am Pamela Aaralyn. I am a clear conduit and trance channel, multidimensional channel for various Christ conscious beings. Yes, the being we're channeling today is a Christ conscious being. And I'm here with my lovely facilitator and friend Aisha, who is also a channel, and she has, the reason why I chose her is because number one, I trust her. And number two, she has a degree of authenticity and neutrality in her questions based upon non-duality that helps me stay grounded. And I really like her style and everything she does. She has some deep connections with this being as well, and some deep connections with Halal and Lilith and so many of the neutral beings that come through for me. So we're really, really excited. Thank you so much for being here, Aisha. We are just going to jump right into this. I'm not going to be trancing today, and I'm going to explain to you why. So, and it's not for any negative reason. So please don't get any preconceived notions about why I won't trance him. What happened, he didn't come in until this morning. And when he did come in, he came in and he had an appearance that was dark and kind of no smile, no anger, no remorse, no regret, kind of a zipped, thin lip, pale palate, dark eyes, kind of staring at me unabashedly. And when I began to question him, he gave back not neutral responses. They were terrifyingly, I don't want to say scary, but it was void of compassion. And it was almost as if, and I had Jesus by me, as I often do, and Jesus said, just answer the questions. And when he begins to ask them back to you, can you handle the same degree of judgment that you hold in your questions? You know, because I was asking him questions like, why did this happen? Why did you do that to these people? Talk to me about the racial divide involved in all of this and why it had to happen. And, you know, basically just pointing the finger, why did you do it? And the reason why I did that is because I knew that people watching would. So I started asking questions as if I were coming from the collective of all of the judgmental questions I knew would arise. And he started answering back in a way that made me question my judgments. And then the questions got very intense and the answers got very intense. And he looked me straight in the eyes and he said, open your heart. You understand and you teach that there is one thing that is true in the universe, and that is love. So if you or anyone else judges me as opposite of love, what does that say? What does that say about you? At which point, apparently I had passed his little test to be an appropriate channel. And he showed me this sunken body. Like I said, it was very dark, very neutral as well. Very, the vocal frequency and range was terrifying if you're scared of things. I'm not. So I just kind of would stare and answer and stare right back at him. But most people would have likely been scared out of their minds. But it's the lacking in compassion that really caught my attention. And once he answered all my questions and I answered all of his, and there was still a neutrality in him and in I, he showed me like I want to say like a opening point. And then he began to rip his skin off. Sorry for the graphics, but he was like a little zipper going straight down his skin, and he went whoop, and yanked it off. And there was this beautiful being of light that was shining. And it embraced me, and I recognized and merged with this being who I know as Halal. So that was my morning. So it's not a perspective of has he healed, or is it over, or is he still a bad or evil or dark soul? It's more of this skin suit that he wears. And I asked him what that was about. And he said, this is my dualistic aspect. This is what you have perceived and judged as darkness. This is what you have perceived and judged as evil. And I am more than willing, if you, humanity, as a collective, wish to continue to believe that I am bad, dark, evil, I am more than willing to continue this role. We can come back and do all this again, and you can kill each other and blame me if you would like. You can kill people and have blood on your own hands and say that it's my fault because I led you. You can do this in so many more ways if you like. And I don't like. So what we're doing is we're speaking to a shadow aspect. And I don't believe in duality, so this was hard for me. I couldn't channel a shadow aspect and a light aspect because all I see is the light. And I was waiting on that to happen. I'm just waiting on the light. When I see darkness, I'm waiting on the light on the other side. So in this experiencing with him, when I saw Halo, I went, oh, yes, roles. Okay, yes, you wish to play this role. Because why? Because we are one. And because there's a component of humanity that wishes to realize through the darkness that darkness is irrelevant when we turn it into evil. So, two aspects, dark, shadow, light, goodness. That is how he's coming through. Feel free to ask further questions about that. And then we have Jesus, who kind of stands and holds the space. You would not listen to him without Jesus. I noticed that right away. Jesus is always with me. So if you feel to ask questions about any of these topics or about his answers, if they relate, go ahead and do it. So that happens. You know, when you feel that you need a spirit handler because you're afraid of the being coming through, we will provide one. And that is why Jesus is here, to help things make sense if for any reason they don't in your heart. Let's proceed. I'm ready for the questions.
So the first question is, does everyone have a shadow self and a light self? And is the light self the higher self?
We have a technical problem right away. Is it possible for you to turn up your microphone or speak directly into the mic? It's almost as if your voice is going loud, soft, loud, soft. Yeah. See, we didn't have any technical problems until we started. That's so interesting.
Okay. So, is there still an echo?
Yeah, I'm gonna put in this to see if it helps.
Maybe she could put on hers too.
Yeah, right now I can't even find the place to put in a microphone. Here we go. It's hot in here. Can you turn one of those on and move the plant? Thank you. Okay. And all of a sudden there's all of this heat in here. I don't know if you're feeling that on your end. I'm feeling so much heat suddenly that I'm sweating. Okay. Okay, do we have any further echo? How's it going?
All right, so does everyone have a shadow self and a light self? And is the light self the higher self?
I'm going to wait until things get calmer in the office here for a second. Give me a moment. Now the fan is distracting me. I'm sorry. This is the bad thing about not trancing. No, it's high. Like I want it on me, but for some reason, it's high. Do we have a low setting, which is in the middle? No? Okay. I'm sorry.
If I'm sweating up a storm but still distracted by extraneous stuff, that's going to be a problem. Give me a second.
Okay. Low setting, change fan. All right. You have to turn that one off completely. Thank you. He's on that side, so the fan can't blow on me on that side, but I'm sweating like mad. Shadow self and light self. He said, there are two things that are non-dualistic. I'm hearing an echo. It's really distracting me. Thank goodness for editing. Do you have earphones? I don't know what's going on. There's so much energy. Thanks. We didn't have any of these problems like just 5 minutes ago. We'd sat there and talked for like 15 minutes.
Do you still hear an echo?
No.
Okay.
I think we're good now. Okay. All right. He said there are two matters of non-dualism. There are two absolute truths. One is love, one is light. Darkness is the fine material matter, the coarseness of the wool. He puts my hand across my other hand and goes like this. And he said, without that, how would you appreciate the feeling of any other substance of your own creation? You are creators. You dance endlessly with time. And in the nature of the creation of time, there must be a comparison point to play in this game. You are the author, the speaker, the actor on the stage of life. You are dancing with time. Will you lead or will you follow? I chose to lead and you followed until this tragedy gave you permission to lead. The shadow self is relevant for the dance of life to be recognized. And it is infinite, beautiful. The light illuminates quickly when the shadow is recognized, integrated. When you realize your power is healing even necessary, then there is the alternative that you remain powerless in victimhood, in blaming and shaming, in complete racial segregation. If it were not for me in this role, you would still experience even further components of racial segregation, religious divide, cultural separation. If you believe that World War II was a tragedy, consider the tragedy that occurs in your own hearts when you murder God within you. I think he's complete in that answer.
Okay, thank you. Are expressions of remorse or apology appropriate for your shadow self?
can't do these things in my head. Excuse me. Okay. Can we test again without?
Sure.
Yeah. No, yours can stay in.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't do mine. Does anyone hear an echo? That's good. I guess we're good. Okay. Are expressions of remorse appropriate for the shadow self? Was that your question?
Yes.
Okay. It is appropriate, but for a time. That time need not induce endless suffering, continual repetition of war, continual racial segregation, continual judgment. When will you learn? Or have you? The shadow is interesting in its projection when it is the fine detail, the background of the light, causing your expressions of light to illuminate further in the unity of oneness that it is. And it cannot not be. God is always present. And within this law of oneness, which is true, how can God not be in the beauty of your shadow? I believe he's complete in that answer.
So for the collective of souls that chose the role of victim under Adolf's reign, what was the purpose of them choosing to play that role?
Jesus. Now I'm freezing. Sorry. Oh my heck. I wanted this to be a serious channeling, not a tragedy of comedic error within the channel. You can't be comfortable in your body. Please repeat the question.
Sure. Yeah. For the collective of souls that chose the role of victim under Adolf's reign, what was the purpose of them choosing to play that role?
His light self answers. Prior, it was the shadow self for those two questions and answers. The purpose that the collective conscious of victims played had relevance to remove the paradigm that you cling to when you are attached to powerlessness. This addiction to powerlessness, this insipid, dark, limited notion that you must point your fingers at someone else is to be released. You simply wished for a way to call back your power. You wished for liberation. You wished for a reminder that human rights exist and that you can call upon your power, speak your truth, connect in whatever way possible with family. And that family is everyone. That family is not Aryan, Jewish, African American, Israeli, Palestinian. That family is not one or the other. If you are here, you are in the same family. When will you get it? You asked for me to play a role. We just went back to shadow self. You asked for me to play a role. You didn't just ask, you demanded it. You demanded to be in power under until someone else could give you permission to be in power over. Do you recognize the insanity in your own request? This world is insane. You're all off your rocker. Light body responds. We say this in the greatest love, in the greatest respect. We say this to illuminate you to the truth that the world that you create, war upon war, religion fighting against another religion, human against human, when you are all brothers and sisters of God within, we say this simply for an illumination of this truth. Anything but this is insane. We say this to stop this insane concept that continues to regurgitate itself. You are replaying like a broken record over, over, and over. You do not need government. And that was my first role to show you. You do not require religion, secondary role. You wish for connection, and it is a tragedy. It is quite unfortunate that in order for you to learn my greatest lesson presented to you, that you must forget connection, that you must forget your power, that you must forget your joy. You switched to shadow self. You became drones. You became numb, careless, blind. He does like this. Blind, compassionless. You became addicted to the paradigms societally, in your religions, in your cultures, in your upbringing, to the extent that you closed the doors, rolled up your own driveways, closed the shutters in your homes and hearts, and pretended not to see the Jewish tragedy. You pretend not to see African American tragedies. You pretend not to see white equality. You pretend not to see the separation of church and state. That is good until it is not. And I was the not. Are you complete? Yes, he is complete in that answer.
The World War II seems to be an orgy of beliefs in separations on all sides. Was the real cause of World War II to bring these beliefs out into the open for observation and examination?
Light self answers. He says, again, the greatest tragedy occurs within your own hearts when you shut each other out. And what is opposite of unity? What is opposite of connection? You were that. You had forgotten each other. You are focused on commerce, industry, technological advance, money, religion, anything that could pull you closer to an extraneous illusory God in the sky that does not exist. Status. What was your addiction? What were your idols? That was in your view. And where was God in such view? Where was love in such view? Where was family unity and connection? Where was racial equality in such a view? You found it quite well and nice to ignore an entire Jewish nation, and not just when they were suffering, many, many decades prior. What would it take for them to get your attention? For them to acquire unity? What would it take? You see them when they are suffering, finally, only upon millions of deaths. You followed my leadership with blood upon your own hands. And then you blamed. If I am God, and believe me, everything is, therefore how can I not be? If I am God, do you do the same to God when there is no human to blame? Do you understand my role now? Now can you forgive it? And do you forgive yourselves for your murderous actions as a collective? You murdered God. I simply brought that to light. Now is God awakened? When you unite upon a brand new nation of Israel, will the Israelis turn around and attack the Palestinians? Will it begin again? Will this collective of Jewish nations who were allegedly powerless return to power in a way that demonstrates more murder? We shall see. I personally believe that it is unlikely because I believe in love. You did not see this aspect of me. I loved you enough to eliminate my own role when the time was nigh. I am complete in this answer.
How likely is it for humanity to repeat World War II?
Again, I personally believe that you have open eyes. You are aware of cultural privilege. You are aware of religious privilege. You have begun slowly, cautiously, but in a very aware state. You have begun to join together as a collective, but you still have it slightly wrong because you are fighting against something. But at least you are uniting. And this is step one. I do not ask you to become a victim again, but I did not ask you to turn around and fight either. What is the neutral ground? Where do you stand in peace? If you fight for something, fight for yourselves. And if you are oneness, this would not require fighting against any other race, religion, government, or being. You cannot fight and love. The two do not interact appropriately. Think smarter. Don't fight with fists. Remember, when the Jewish people were on their way to the gas chambers, they would chant Hasidic melodies. They would tell beautiful stories of divine remembrance. They were not crying out, please don't kill me, please don't harm me. They were connecting. And amidst the divide, thereafter, they came together as a family to build a country based upon unity. Are you doing the same? Or are you conquering and dividing everything and everyone in the name of what? Money, resources, metals, oils, more idols to which you worship for the purpose of attachment and further separation? There is much to learn, but the potentiality of World War III occurring at this point would be highly limited if you realize that you are limitless in your love. Be limitless in love, not killing. Be limitless in equality, not separation. Your eyes are open. Now, how will you choose to exercise your power? You are at the precipice of divine choice. I am complete in this answer.
Thank you. What happened after your death? Did you rest? Did you return? Did you have an afterlife review?
Shadow Self answers, I don't see a life review. He's shaking his head no. That's interesting. Why? I'm going to ask him why. Light Self answers, this role was important because millions of you were asking, begging, pleading for the expansion that it encompassed. For the nature and significance of the role, I as a soul am what is called a neutral soul. I am of the collective that you have defined and labeled Seraphim. There is no punishment. There is no reward. I honor a role when you ask for it. There is no human attachment to such role. Therefore, I could not create karmic implications or karmic consequences, with one exception. When I realized that I had a moment of humanity when I could make choices, I was reminded of this role, and then I would be reminded of my humanity, and then I would remember the role, have dreams about it. I dreamt of this power, and I knew because of the dreams. I was innately precognitive. The dreams did not terrify me, they excited me because I love you enough to do this for you. That is the intensity and the nature of my love, that I will kill you if you ask me to. That is how much I love you. You will not understand this if you are seeking the answer from your minds. The mind cannot wrap around these answers. Try not from the mind. I did not have a life review because my nature is not innately human, and I would only take upon such a powerful contract and an important contract if I understood that there would not be consequences. Again, however, upon the realization that I had human choice, I began to hate myself. I bathed in the nature of self-loathing. Your anger at me, when it is directed at my role, cannot be further withstanding. It cannot be more grandiose than my own judgment and than my own toxic self-loathing. That was my hell, and I experienced it in my body as I smelled the burning flesh of yours. I was punishing myself, yet I couldn't stop. The power was addicting. We're back to dark self, shadow self just came in. The power was addicting, and you needed to see this. You needed to see what humanity can do to each other in the name of these falsities. And I am your hired help for that. You asked. I bore the cost by burning myself in my own hell of self-loathing, criticism. I awakened every morning, looked in the mirror and said, "You are pathetic." And then you would see me give great speeches about my power. I'm a liar in this role. And you are a liar when you believe that it is true. Stop believing this. Are you done? I am.
Thank you.
As well with this answer.
Okay. Did your brain or body suffer from a mental disease during this time?
Attachment to idols, whether they be in physicality or not, we're back to light self. Whether they be in physicality or not, these idols are addictive. They are chaotic. They are destroying. You miss the mark. Yet you, again, hired me, karmically speaking, to slaughter God because you were angry. You were angry that you couldn't feel. You were angry at racial divide. You were angry that you could not connect to anything. So I took that all away so that the bliss of its return could be even more splendorous. And I hold no remorse or apologies. I simply thank you for the respect of the role that you bestowed upon me, that you allowed. Incomplete.
Thank you. Will your next lifetime be a reaping as you sow in the last one? And did the German nation accrue negative karma?
You continue the power and the power under, and the power and the power under. He's going like this. Now Germany has continued in the opposing dualistic role of power under. That too was not my purpose. There is no karmic repercussion except when you individually create it, and you are. You are, as a collective, punishing yourself when you shut down your hearts. You have become in power under of an entire governmental system that tells you when to work, when to go home, what crops to plant, and how many, how much money to give to the government, and how much small amount you may keep for yourself. How can you release your breath when your head hits your pillow at night? What relief do you feel when you give your entire power to your government? America, you hold a dream that you are free. But are you really? Where is your freedom? Are you different because you are democracy? Or is the insanity the outstanding number when you ignore your heart, which happens to be the minority in numbers of awakened souls at this time? I am complete in my answer.
Thank you. How is it possible for so many people to suffer the same tragic fate? Did each individual victim personally create their own suffering and death?
This is a pre-mandated contract in the spirit world the merging of the souls, demand and command this lesson. You chose it before incarnating. It had to be an individual choice and a collective choice. It is not one or the other. And when the power of your voice is this loud, of course the angelics hear. Are you surprised, or are you going to blame the angels for allegedly putting you in this position when you asked for it in such loud numbers, overwhelming numbers, pleas for this expansion? And the angelics heard your call, and we sent one of us down to play this role. A fractal of the same being simultaneously went into another incarnation, which you revere as the author of peace, Gandhi. Are you surprised that I too am he? The overwhelming call for that lesson was interesting between the United Kingdom and India. And we honor it. And another fractal of me, Halal, embodied another being. I am complete in my answer.
Thank you. Have you forgiven yourself? Do you love yourself after the pain that you caused humanity?
I follow your lead, and you do not love yourselves. However, you do not hate yourselves any longer. There is a small whisper of a collective voice that is exciting to me. He's smiling. He's actually smiling. This is funny. He hasn't smiled the whole time. There's been a lot of seriousness, but there's an excited little boyish, innocent smile right now that I wish you could see what I'm seeing. And he's excited when he's talking, and he said, I wish that you could see this innocent whispering voice. I wonder if we can do this. I wonder if we are God. I wonder if we are family. I wonder if we need a government any longer. I wonder if we can stop fighting now. I wonder if we can stop racial segregation. I wonder. And you keep saying it, and your voices are getting louder because you are doing it together. I have hope. Let's see. I cannot forgive myself until you do, because I am you. I'm waiting. I am complete in this answer.
Thank you.
This is boyish smile. It's like he's trying not to smile, but he's like, yes, it's cheeky, one said.
Are there other incarnations he had that would be considered, in dualistic terms, as enlightened or good?
Gandhi? What? I didn't know this. Babaji? That is a very realized being. And then consider the roles that you do not recognize but are touching many. Consider relief workers all around the world, bringing water and education, bringing tools of equality. I am currently the voice of the voiceless, helping them honor their power. Most recently, I embodied into a woman in Rwanda who was locked in a bathroom for her own protection during a massive genocide. And now she is a powerful voice. Is she a well-known figure? He says yes. I am the voice of the woman who does not wear her burqa. I do not always come forth with grandiosity and aplomb. I am not seeking for attention in my present incarnations. Yet you see me because there is power, balance, neutrality, all of the concepts that you wish to embody. You see the stillness of God in a quietly powerful voice. I do not ask you to forgive me. I ask you to forgive yourselves. Me forgiving myself took more centuries in darkness, self-imposed darkness, in this world of embodiment and in the spirit world thereafter. I did not require a review or for God to judge me. I judged myself enough for the billions of voices who did and did not. I'm complete in this answer.
Thank you. It appears that humanity is once again being given an opportunity to accept our empowerment and address similar issues. Has another master come again to provide humanity similar opportunities to see what we have created and to choose love?
Indeed, he has. You understand his nature in your own presidency. I'm complete in that answer.
Okay. Can you tell us about the role your mother played while you were alive in your decisions?
I can tell you that the creation of a man is based upon components of nature and nurture provided in parenting. In my father, he was never proud of me. I didn't wish for this level of leadership. I wished for art. In my call into humanness, I wished to create in a different way. Until I remembered my purpose for you. And my father said, "Not upon my dead body." Interesting words. He left his body shortly thereafter, leaving my mother in remorse and futility and anger when she took to the bottle. And then she followed shortly after his death. Mother attempted to nurture. She was overly protective, overly indulgent, and completely controlled me in her alleged love. This is not love, this is control. Father was ashamed of my presence. I did not connect to either. I was alone. No connection from either. No religion to fall back upon. No political party. No family that understood me. And this is the nature of the creation of murderer. I'm complete.
Thank you. Is it advisable to dispute or seek to spiritually assist someone playing a role similar to yours for humanity?
If you dispute the role, and that is repudiated, you are fighting against something and minding God's business. If God should choose such a role, who are you to say that God is not capable? If you join the role, ask yourself this question: who am I? Why do I join this role? What is my intention in this role? Does this role align with my soul's very nature? Do not join another without knowing your intention. This is the danger of blindly following alleged leadership in your societal constructs. You close your eyes when you are lazy to the voice of God, when you are numb to it, or when you fear it. Either is the same when you become sheep. Who am I to tell you what to do in the joining of such a role, in advocating of such a role, or in disputing it? Another's role is not your business unless it aligns with your own. It is not your place to dispute their role. It is not their place to tell you to join their role unless it is aligned with your very nature. And only you know that. Listen. Listen to the voice of God that is still and quiet within you. Be still. You will know. You will know what is correct for you. Oh, we have Jesus. Hang on. That is interesting. You really want me to say that? He said, what is the difference between you following me and you following him? And he pointed to the shadow self. He said, you recognized a charisma in his leadership, a light in his eyes that gave you hope and relief when you felt disempowered and afraid that you were wrong. Did Jesus freeze my video? Someone said Jesus froze my video. Okay. I think that's just on your end. You follow me because you had hope. You saw the light of God in my eyes when you were afraid that you were wrong, hopeless, alone. In me, you sought connection. He taught you connection by teaching you that you are powerless, but the goal is the same. Our purpose was the same. Connection, unity. With him, you needed to call back your power. With me, I was never asking you to relinquish your power. I was not your healer. I was not your savior. I simply reflected the power of the love within you, the healer, the savior within you, until you believed that you were that healer and savior, and you healed and saved yourselves. His attempts were the same, albeit in a mighty way, in a tragic way. And now, because of him, as tragic as you may call it, your eyes are peeled back to the dangers of losing your power. Your eyes are peeled back to the notion of separation if it involves losing your voice. And now you are no longer numb. Now you are opening. Now you can feel the nature of your own hearts. Now you are observant to cycles of powerless thought. You are aware of them. They don't feel good. You are aware when you judge. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel healthy. It doesn't feel peaceful or loving. And what do? Sometimes, if the voice of me within you is quiet enough, you listen. I think they're complete in that answer.
What message does Adolf have for the third dimensional time we are living in now?
He throws up his hands like this. He's in his shadow self now. He said, he just went, and he said, dimensions this, dimensions that, ascension, heaven, hell, ascension, declining. What is all of this? You're more mad than I was. Stop it already. Light body. Okay. Light body response. He's showing me an entire collective of you inside of a jar, but your eyes are like, look, it's just billions and billions of people inside this tiny jar. The jar is the paradigms. And all of you are there in it together, and your eyes are wide. You're like wide-eyed, innocent children, and you're tapping. But the top of this jar is open. It's opened. This is your opening. He was your opening. Collectively, karmically, you're now free. Inside of the jar, each of you have these stickers that you placed upon your foreheads. The stickers are Ascension, aliens, Anunnaki. I'm just reading them, all the stickers. Galactic origin, healer, channel, teacher, enlightened, unenlightened, darkness, light, black, white, Jew, German. And as each of these voices are speaking, you'd have to see what I'm seeing, and I'm trying to explain it avidly. When they said German, it was a shame. It was like, German. And when they said Jew, they went, Jew, proudly and freely. So liberation in their voice. Yet they are still semantics, is what he's saying. Shadow self is speaking now. And Jesus is, in this visual that they're giving me, looking down upon the jar and the open top and shining light through it. Shining light through your bodies, through your hearts. And there are some of you whose light it penetrates and you reflect it back. And as you reflect it back, the light becomes hot and the stickers begin to melt off. And then you look and the glass isn't there. And then one of you walks out of that collective. Now, what's interesting is there's an equal collective of beings outside of this jar in this visual, equal in number. Like this, Jesus said, the collective is like this, is teeter-tottering. And when that being left the jar, the label burned off because of the permeation of the light, just went boldly, like right into their heads, all the way down to their hearts. Their hearts reflected it. Label burns off. The jar doesn't exist anymore. They walk out, and when they meet their family that's outside of the jar, they are crying in joy. Crying in joy. And their family is there meeting them with open arms, and they are wrapping their arms around this being. And what I'm seeing happen is, as I observe, more beings are doing that. More beings are doing that and doing that and doing that. And there's great celebration. No, you still have bodies. Someone says, is this us passing? No. The bottle is not the veil. The bottle is your mind, he said. That was the Halal light body speaking in that. The jar is your mind. That is all. So what you've been calling ascension, it is only the removal of your own nature when you judge and attach and separate. That part of you, light permeates through that so that that's all that exists. And Halal is over there watching, waiting. Jesus is kind of on top, reminding us that the top of the jar is open. You feeling the visual? You guys get it? This dropping of the labels, the attachments, the idols, the judgments, all of that. It just melts away. I think they're complete in that answer.
Thank you. Can you relate your role as Hitler to a role being played out today that is the same or similar?
The light body answered, and he says, it is within the role of your presidency. You aren't done with it. When will you realize that he matters not in the decisions of your unity? He matters not, except to play the role, to take back your power, to unite further. I'm complete in this answer, he says.
Thank you. Could you offer clarity to the current situation in the U.S. Surrounding so much turmoil with the citizens?
Light body answers, he says, that has been and apparently will always be, as long as you seek to expand in this way. Pain is a call to awakening, a call that you have simply missed the mark when you are operating in the doing state and creation state of your mind. Pain arises. Pain is natural. Ask it, what is its gift? Inquire, why is it there? What call to love is needed when pain arises, individually and collectively? What is it that the child in your heart seeks? What relief will arise? What is needed? It is obviously love, but what form of love? Ask. The answer is there. But you are not asking, which means the pain arises further. And it becomes loud. He's showing me a vision of someone placing their hand on the stove, and the mind is your other hand, smacking down and keeping your hand there. And you're going, ow, 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 ow. And the mind is this hand holding it down. And he said, why are you doing that? When will it stop? It's up to you. I'm waiting. I played my role, and I played it well. He, by the way, in light and dark body, like holds no remorse, no guilt, no shame. He is happy to honor the role that you asked him to play. I think they're complete in that.
Thank you. Is there anything that people can do to help him? What can we do to further his intention?
Shadow self answered. And I love the humanity of this, that his shadow self is here. Pardon the loudness. I'll do it over here away from the mic. He got his hand and he went, oh, and he acted like he was going to walk out the room. And then he sat at the door. And now he's shaking his head like this and going like this. We still await your answer. He's walking back around and he's breathing diligently. He's calming his breath. He's going. Does he do this when you talk to him too?
Yeah.
Okay. There's this humanness about him that's almost cute, considering, you know, the facts of what happened historically. There's a certain innocence about him, but he has lost patience with the question. Please answer. Ask it again.
Is there anything that we can do to help? It's kind of a difficult question to ask. He's kind of like he's saying, how can I help you help yourselves?
Yeah. He's nodding at you. He said, you know. So he said, you missed the point of my entire metaphor. Your mind is the jar. You're perceiving separation when you say, how can I help another? How can you help me? My role is your role. I am you. The whole nature of the very question is flawed. Don't help me. Stop. Light body is answering now. He says, humanity, in the West particularly, you put way too much significance on your thought process. You notice I didn't think. You notice that I would formulate a strategy very, very quickly. There was no thought process. There was no mulling it over. I knew what I wanted. I created instant strategy. He's doing like this. Shadow body is back. Instant strategy, instant results, instant plans, no thought process. This is God. God doesn't stop and think about it. God doesn't doubt. God doesn't criticize. God doesn't judge if this would be a right or a wrong decision. God just is. Humans place too much relevance on thought. Light body answer. When I think, which I do, I observe a thought pass through me. It passes through my existence, and I observe it. If I were embodied, would I wish to create with it? Maybe, maybe not. I'm aware of the choice. And that is all. I do not feel a thought and then honor it for days, weeks, months, years, centuries. Oh no, there must be something terrible. In my essence, I must be powerless, insignificant, ashamed. I must be some deep, dark, negative belief. You are not that. That is a thought to which you have given mighty significance. So, just stop. That simple? Yeah. Light body said, simply choose another thought. There are many, are there not? You are creative by design. Choose a different one. Complete. Okay.
How can we honor our hearts?
be your hearts. In each and every situation, when a thought arises, ask, who am I? When the ego responds, answer. Be mindful of the answer, observe it. Do not take it into your essence as truth, simply observe it and choose to create within it or not. You honor your hearts when you honor each other. I took responsibility and accountability for all of Earth. You are afraid of taking accountability for your own very nature. You are afraid of taking accountability, therefore you instate this lovely word in your spiritual communities that you have called boundaries. What is that? Did you not create the being that you see in front of you? Is oneness not true? You honor and respect and show compassion by speaking your truth in every situation. And then is a boundary of separation even required if you are honoring your truth? You would not say, please stop saying that. This is my boundary. Please don't do that. This is my boundary. That is separation, is what that is. But when you honor your hearts, you speak your truth by saying, this is how I feel. This is my heart. It is my responsibility. And in doing so, I honor myself. Boundaries are irrelevant if you're honoring yourself. You will not even attract such a simplified situation, which your egos complicate into dire means. If I can take responsibility for everything I did and did not do, when can you? I am complete in my answer.
Thank you. Within responsibility and accountability, it may be difficult for some to exercise this because they've never had the example given to them before. They never had the experience. So how could someone who has difficulty with this feel safe while exercising themselves?
He's nodding. It's a good question. He says, shadow body says, the point is not to feel safe. The point is to understand that fear is not relevant or true. Love walks through fear. Love does not perceive danger. Comfort the aspect of you, the fractal of God within you that is seeking to learn from fear. How is fear your friend? Or will it continue to be your foe? Fear will be there until you realize that it is not true. You cannot make something that you've created no longer exist, even if it is unreal. It feels real. Honor that. Be present. Be compassionate with that. Connect with others. Speak your truth when you are afraid. When your lips tremble. When your heart shakes and quivers. When your knees fold from underneath you in the face of fear. I am holding your hand through it. It is passing. It is fleeting. As is time. It is but a dream. Do you choose to move through the dream quickly? His light body speaks, and it says, consider time for a moment. When you are miserable, and you can be in any role miserably, and you can be in any role quite joyfully, but when you are miserable, does time not slow down, and you feel every moment of such drudgery? When you are in love, have you noticed that the time speeds quickly, and it is fastidious in growth? Your manifestations become instantaneous. You are glowing. powerful. Because this is true. Fear slows you down from this truth. Love speeds up the time. Fear cannot withstand love. They cannot operate together because one is true and one is not. Which do you choose? He is complete in the answer.
Thank you. Would Yeshua like to comment on the same question?
I, as a channel, sometimes in clear constancy lose mindfulness. Can you please repeat the question?
If I remember it correctly, how can we feel safe while moving through fear?
When you choose to incarnate, when you take upon form, the first thing you do is cry. For what are you crying? Love. What is your first comfort? Divine Mother. She is present. She holds you. She rocks you. And would this mother say that you are unworthy? Would she say, don't cry? Would she say something is innately wrong with you because you cry, because you are afraid? Hopefully she would not. Although some of you have encompassed that powerful experience. The majority of you are born to loving mothers who hold you. And the first thing she says is, it is okay. It's okay. Be held in the arms of Divine Mother. Mother yourselves. Comfort the child within you. Do not ignore your fear. Do not invalidate your fear. Do not neglect yourselves from the love that I would give. He's complete.
So this is for Adolf. So could you explain the way that you are currently, if at all, presently incarnated?
Shadow Self answered, he said, I have done that many times thereover. Listen to your devices. I've noticed that with him too, that he doesn't like, if I ask him the same thing a different way, he said, my answer, this is what he's saying now, my answer won't be different. Shadow Self answer.
I think I've run out of questions here.
Hey, Jesus says, how many more ways does he have to tell you to love yourselves?
I think they sound like the same questions here. So I'm just going to ask this to see if he would answer. So what did Hitler come here to teach the human conscious collective?
He sighed and he went, I knew you would ask. It was a little bit cheeky like this. He said, I knew you would ask. That was Shadow Self. Light Self says, the greatest tragedy is when you lose connection with your own hearts. You did so by loss of connection through each other. Now you are connecting again. My purpose is connection. My purpose is unity. My purpose within that, at a deeper level, is forgiveness. For would not the collective that murders, that rapes, that pillages, that destroys, that terrorizes need the most forgiveness, unity, connection, and love? How do you murder, rape, pillage, and ostracize? How do you judge and shame yourselves? Ask that question, and you will understand the healing within my purpose. I'm complete in that answer.
Thank you. If needed, has he made the choice to reincarnate into a similar role as Adolf Hitler in the future?
Shadow Self answers, he said, you have not made up your mind if you require the role any longer. You are on the precipice, in which case your current leadership could become brutal. If not, your current leadership will eliminate himself. Quite literally. Sometimes I just can't not react, and I'm not even sorry. Holy cow. I don't really want to ask what you mean by that, do I?
Okay. Okay. Were there any karmic consequences to your life, to the history going forward?
You have perpetuated such a consequence upon yourselves when you continue to be asleep, numb, and disconnected from love. Yet you're on the precipice of such love, of such an exciting awakening, which is unlike any time in your history. This is different. And I'm excited for its blooming potential. You are a miracle that has already happened and is waiting to expand further into love. Only you can decide. It's complete in that answer.
Many people don't have a clear definition of love and what that means. Can he explain what he means when he expresses that we need to be thinking about love and living further into love?
Light Body answers, he says, you don't hold a remembrance or a relevance to the concept as long as your mind is the shadow to this light. You are busy doing and creating from mind. He's reminding me of something, has some comings and goings to and from my home today, in preparation for this channeling, kind of being absent-minded and leaving things in various places and forgetting things I was supposed to do, right? Simultaneously trying to connect, trying to meditate, and not getting very far with him. And he said, well, of course you're not getting far. You're doing. You're creating in your mind. And I said, give me an example of how humanity is blocking themselves from love. And he said, it's all around you. And he went like this. He could be very grandiose in his gestures at times. And he said, it's all around you. And he had a very loud voice in the shadow self. And I was pulling into my subdivision as it was happening. And he said, whose brilliant human egoic idea is it to take God's flowers and plant them right there at the center of the subdivision, encased with bloody concrete? And I'm like, oh, look at that. So his shadow self sees the God in the flowers, not so much in the concrete. And it's interesting because he had hopes for the nature of technology and industry. He was very fascinated with coal and metals and factories and all sorts of components of the Industrial Revolution. And we were having this conversation just in the car. So, yeah. And then I said, and he was just joyful about that. Yet simultaneously, his light body no longer sees God in it. And even his shadow body says, where's God in the concrete? His light body sees God when humanity stops trying to incessantly create. He prefers a more unified architectural look to things, where the materials in your homes would be from natural resources. The materials in your subdivisions and your office buildings would be from natural resources. He says that my regret in the Industrial Revolution is that I, was into the concrete and the metals and the coal and the oils and the this and the that, all the resources, as opposed to just taking what's naturally a resource and blending God into these environments architecturally. So he said, look around. You have this metal sign that says stop. Who's telling you to stop there? And of course, my ego's denying it. My ego's like, well, you stop there because you don't want to hit kids crossing the street. There's a school there, and he's like, and that, who put that there? Who said our children needed to be educated into a paradigm? I'm like, so he and I have some ego wars, which are interesting. And he just said, look around you. Look around you. How are you creating harmoniously in these dead environments full of concrete and oil and pollution? And this was from his shadow self. And he just, when he talks about his role in politics and war as a leader, there's no smile across his face. It's like this role that just needed to happen because we asked for it to happen. He's not happy about it. He's not proud of it. He becomes neutral when he talks about it. He said, this is my role. This is my job. I did it well. And there's no emotion in his face when he talks about it. But when he talks about the Industrial Revolution, he said, I had different hopes. So if you're going to be, he's saying now from shadow self, if you're going to be creative from the mind, do so from the mind of God, not the mind of your own adulation and adulation and grandiosity, not the mind of selfishness, avarice, but the mind of God is natural. Think simply, is a connection to love in all things. And this love is powerfully quiet. It is within the whisper of the wind, within the petals of the rose, within the love from your animals. When you recognize that they are God, but not yours. They are free. You are free. Intermingle, connect from all ecosystems, animal, human, plant. Then what do you need from your resources that Gaia has not already provided? The ego mind adds and finds itself brilliant and grandiose and industrious. I know because I've done it. Be in love at all times, simply by being in the mind of God. The truth is light, and the truth is love. Love is that light. Anything that isn't is not true, yet it still serves you in moments of expansion. Ask, where is the love in the darkness? Where is the love in the pain? Where is the love in the lessons? Find out. Okay, he's completing that.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so how can people? There's an echo for me now. Hang on a second. Right, so let me just ask this: how can people bridge the mind and the heart together, so that they're not
Light body answer.
so they're not sorry. So they're not destroying while they're also creating.
Light body answers, and he said, so the problem is so that they're not. If you're destroying while creating, what is wrong with that? There is birth, there is rebirth, there is expansion. There is birth, there is rebirth, there is expansion. Death is not a part of that equation. Notice I did not say death in my instructions. There's a cycle of life, and it is natural that there would be chaos in such an evolution in a dualistic environment. He's complete.
Thank you. There's an exhaustive list of questions.
Wait a minute, he's not. Okay. So he said mind and heart. Within the mind of God is the heart of God. And within the heart is the mind. They are same. God wisdom, God heart. Heart wisdom. They are same. Which means what? There is no destruction when the heart is operating within the mind of God, and the mind of God is the heart of you. When does destruction come into place? This is the core of unity. And it is not currently grasped within the nature of your planet. Within the nature of your planet, you hold mind, body, spirit, soul. You are attempting to separate every single fractal of something that is the same. And as long as that is true, there will be chaos and destruction. Please stop separating everything. I am complete now.
Thank you. Okay. I'm not sure if you would like to answer this, but there are a few people who would like to know if he worked with other light beings while he was Adolf. Like, did he work with aliens or any other light beings that he would like to speak about?
Sorry, he's interrupting you. I know I saw the look on your face, so I knew that you could come in. Aisha's an amazing channel. She's just as capable of talking to any of these beings and does. So as you were talking, he said, so aliens. What are we going to blame it on next? That is all that I have to say about that. Do you believe that you are at home in an insane planet that is not of your very nature? You are the aliens. You are the destroyers. There is nothing about Earth that needs to be fixed except you. Shadow self. Your actions, your chaos, your destruction. Hopefully it stops now. Walk away with that message. About light beings, light body answers. And he said it is obvious that it would be Halal and Azrael. Light, represented by Halal, morning light, Lucifer. Azrael represents the component of birth and rebirth, transformation. is why he worked with Azrael. He is a fractal of both. He is complete in that answer.
What led him to get offered that hard contract?
As you often say, shadow body is the response from that. As you often say, somebody had to do it. There is no order of difficulty in your alleged sins. Light body says there is no order of difficulty in your miracles. That's an interesting display there. Shadow body speaks again, and he says, I see no order of difficulty or exemption or difference between me saying somebody had to go kill everybody and you saying somebody's got to get up and pay taxes and pay bills and completely sacrifice their entire nature to the government. Order of difficulty, I see not. It is the same to me, this sacrifice. He is complete in this answer, he says.
Was he involved in occult teachings while he was incarnated as Hitler?
Shadow body says, of course, the symbolism was everywhere. But when did you decide, at what point in your evolution did you decide that the occult was a bad thing? When did you decide that masonry was a bad thing? When did you begin to create collectives of individuals to disempower you further? You're welcome for all of those roles. I'm complete in the answer, he says.
Was it true that you had Jewish ancestors?
He nods, yes.
Were they on your mother's side or your father's side of the family?
Mothers.
Need help with
We're kind of wrapping up. Crowdcast has given me that little message saying, you only have a 2-hour max, at which point this session's broadcast will automatically end. Good times, Crowdcast.
Looks like I went through the list of questions here.
Yeah. All right. Well, that has definitely been an interesting theatrical event. He said, you're welcome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Aisha, in particular, for your tolerance of me. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for everyone listening. And thank you for coming with no preconceived notions that even if you held judgment that you did not, that you listened anyway, that you would listen beyond it. That is wonderful. And that's, we're the reason why he has that hope. So thank you for being humanity's hope. I love you, and I'll see you next week. Have a good day. Thank you again, Aisha.